Welcome to the Fitfreedom podcast, hosted by Livia Francis. Each month, I invite discussion on a chosen topic within menopause. It's really about the highs and the lows and the experiences of midlife as women in our modern day society. With 12 million women currently in the menopause in the UK, isn't it about time that it's highlighted more at work and more understood within our population? And today I have the pleasure of introducing Nickie Aiken, Conservative MP for London and Westminster, who is making waves by highlighting the importance of acknowledging menopause within our population and workforce, but also by being extremely proactive herself. She's making her own lifestyle adjustments to cope with the symptoms, and I'm sure she's going to tell you a little bit about it later. I've been coaching Nickie in exercise nutrition over the last few months, and she's had some extremely positive outcomes. And Nickie, a huge warm welcome to this podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so lovely to see you without being in keep fit gear.
It makes a difference, doesn't it? Can you tell us a little bit about your background, just to bring everyone up to date on you, really?
Well, as you said, I'm an MP. I was elected in December 2019 to represent, as you say, the cities of London and Westminster. And before that, I was a local councillor in Westminster. And I was leader of the council for a few years. And I am a mum of two teenagers. Daughter is 17 coming up, and son is nearly 15. I've been married for over, I think it's 20 years now. It is 20 years. And just a very busy person, always been involved in exercise, love exercise. Been working out, I remember starting at university aerobic classes in the 80s with my leg warmers on, and then progressed into the 90s. I think we were all doing step in the 90s, weren't we?
We were.
Always did, working out in the gym. I've had a few personal trainers. So yeah, always been a huge fan of exercise because the way it makes you feel. I used to run a bit, don't run anymore because I've had too many injuries. But so that's me. I'm very busy as an MP, a mum, a wife, and try to squeeze in some exercise in between.
Sounds as though you're on the right track there. What are your views on what women should be doing if they're struggling with menopause day to day?
I think the menopause has been one of those, it's a bit like, I equate it to childbirth. Nobody tells you what childbirth is like until you go through it, and then you think, why didn't anybody tell me? And then it's like this women's secret. And as I've progressed through my life, I've got to the menopause now. I'm perimenopausal, but I'm on the brink. And again, when I hit being perimenopausal, it was like, what the hell is this? I'm going mad. And I remember thinking about a few of my friends who are slightly older than me, who obviously were going through it at the same time, at the time when I knew them in their late 40s, early 50s, but they were put on antidepressants. And I suddenly realised, do you know what? Menopause is something that we have not discussed as a society, as a nation, as women until now. I think there's certainly been a huge change. You've got the likes of you. We've got people like Meg, Noel Gallagher's ex-wife, and Davina McCall, and people like that. You guys are leading from the front and telling women, actually, this is okay. It's okay. You're going to get through this, but you need to do, this, and this to help you. And I do think also there is a need for a lot more training and information to be given to GPs. I think, again, it's improving, but we're not there yet. I think there's too much, sadly, and when I say ignorance, I don't mean that in a really derogatory way. I mean it's just people don't know. So I'm hoping over the next 5-10 years we will speak more about menopause like we do about mental health. I mean, menopause is not about mental health; it's a physiological issue, but it does have a knock-on effect for your mental health. You do think, wow, I'm putting on so much weight, but I'm not eating anything, and why am I doing that? You do feel different. Your body does change. And there is really, there are answers out there. There is help out there. There is medication. I'm on HRT, and it's really helped me. But I think it's about spreading the information, spreading the word, and giving women the confidence to go to their GP or go to a specialist or to find information online to better inform themselves so that they can then respond to it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, the Nuffield Health, they did a study and they were saying that 2/3 of women, and it's a very recent survey, reported hormonal changes were having such a detrimental effect on their lives. So we really need to almost attack it or have that information at the education level, which is great because it started, hasn't it? Wasn't it last September it was introduced to the curriculum, learning about the menopause in schools, and that's been a real breakthrough, I think. Is there any other, what would be to you breaking the taboo of menopause? So menopause in the workplace, anything else that you want to highlight?
Well, I think you're absolutely right about workplace. So the menopause hit me like a truck when not long after I became leader of Westminster Council. And I was really suffering from insomnia, that awful thing. You go to sleep. I had no problem with getting to sleep. And then I'd wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning. It was like an alarm was going off in my body. And, I would get the hot sweats. That would wake me up, and then I'd be awake for 3 hours and I'd be wide awake. And that would happen for nights and nights on end. And I was on my knees. And so often I'd have to cancel early morning meetings because I wasn't fit to get out of bed, let alone go and chair a meeting or whatever. And that was really quite scary because you do think, what is wrong with me? Am I ever going to get through this? And that's why I went on HRT, and that did help. But I do still think that you can still fluctuate with HRT. It's not just like, taking the contraceptive pill, you take it and you don't get pregnant. Well, the vast majority of us don't get pregnant. With HRT, I think our hormones are still, up and down, and it just depends what type of person you are, and you're, we're all different. And I think it was really difficult sometimes when I'd be on HRT and I'd still be getting some of the symptoms. And it was like, well, why is this happening? And I felt like there was nowhere to go to ask that help. So I know the government has just launched its really impressive consultation on women's health, and the health minister, Nadine Dorries, is leading that. And she's a woman who's, an older woman who's been through the menopause, so she understands it. So I think I will be getting involved in that consultation, and I would recommend anybody listening to this podcast to look it up on the government's website about this women's health consultation and have your say. Because if we tell policymakers about the issues we're having and how we want the government to respond and the services we need to help us get through and it is a period. It's not, it's not a lifetime. It is a certain amount of time, perhaps 5-10 years. And that sounds like a long time, but you can manage it. But the government needs help to understand what we need. And that will help employers as well. When I was leader of the council, I did a number of menopause focus groups. And they were always so well attended. And we had a few men come along as well, because obviously men are managers as well as women. And they need to understand that sometimes a woman might need a bit of understanding that she can't come in this morning because she hasn't had any sleep, and it's been like going on for 7 weeks, so 7 days. So she needs to stay at home today. She'll do her work. We know women work. We know, as working mums. I know so many working mums who will do a day's work, but leave maybe on time at 5 o'clock while people are staying on later to pick up their kids, come home, give the kids tea, get them into bed, and then get the laptop out again because they want to get their job done. So it's not about giving women slack that they don't want to work. It's about understanding that some women at a certain time of their lives may need some understanding so that they can get through this, so that they can, achieve what they need to achieve for themselves and for the company.
Do you see more companies in the future having some kind of legislation in place, or support group even at work to help women through this stage? Do you think it's something that's viable in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I do think the more we as a society understand what menopausal women need at certain times during their menopause, it's, we've seen so many improvements in legislation for pregnancy and for caring opportunities now, and a lot of the bigger companies in particular have really strong policies in place to support their staff. And I think the menopause is the next stage of that. And I think going back to what I'm saying about the government's consultation, I think, again, that will help the government understand what guidelines they need to support employers and support their staff. So yeah, absolutely. I do think, and I think, Liv, it's about also women like us now have got to a certain stage where we've worked all our lives, we've all had careers, and we've hit 50. We're still, still wanting to work, needing to work, and we are at a certain stage in our careers quite often where we might be in middle or high management, and we can make the things happen as well. We need to understand that we need to be supporting women and putting in place policies now that will help women who are younger than us. So when they hit the menopause, they won't have this suddenly, what the hell's going on? How do I get through this?
Yeah, it's just like you said earlier, it is like being knocked sideways by a truck. I totally relate to that. And I'm sure lots of other women out there do. How can people get in touch if they want to get involved with the government's next move? You mentioned the...
Yeah, well, if they go on to gov.uk, that's the government's website. And if they just put in the search engine part, women health consultation, it should come up, and then there'll be links to that, and then they can have a read of what the thoughts are, and then they can have their say. There'll be a consultation process that they can take part, and I would really encourage anybody to do that.
Fantastic. Thanks for letting us know about that. And just from a personal perspective with menopause, I know you said it's been overwhelming. If you could advise women just on a day-to-day basis how they can help themselves in menopause, what are your top tips that you would give somebody if you're having, say, a cup of coffee and having a chat about it?
Talk about it. Go and talk to other women of your age or older to ask them their advice. Because, again, I think it goes back to what I was saying about childbirth. Nobody really talks about it until you get there. So go and talk to friends and family. Also talk to your GP. GPs are getting better. Don't let them put you on antidepressants. You're not depressed. You're menopausal or you're perimenopausal. Look into HRT. I've been on HRT now for about 3 years, I think maybe 4 years, and the difference is dramatic. And I know there's been health concerns about it over the years, but the more scientific data that we have now, as more women are on HRT and we get to understand more about it, the health benefits of being on HRT way outstrip any concerns they may have. Yes, there will be a small cohort of women who may not be able to go on it because of risk of breast cancer, because they've got breast cancer in their family. They may have the gene that triggers some form of breast cancer or cervical cancer, but your doctor will be able to advise you on that. And if you can't go on HRT, there are plenty more supplements you can go on, and then also do what I've been doing with you, Liv, which is I obviously did your 90-day plan, is nutrition and exercise. Yes. And just making some small tweaks to your diet, really cutting out the sugar, cutting out bread. I love bread, but it is the devil's food, I'm sad to say, for many of us. Not for everybody, but for me, it really affected my metabolism. Pasta as well. Again, I love pasta, but you've got to cut it out or cut it right down. And alcohol. Again, I think many of women I know of my age get to a stage where they can't drink as much and as often as they used to. I think, in our 20s and 30s, we could, have a great night out and then get up the next morning and go to work. Now, for me, it's 2 glasses maximum, because I wake up in the middle of the night and I need my sleep. So I would say, look at plans, look at menopausal fitness and diet plans, obviously like yourselves, and there'll be others out there that would make you focus on you, focus on what your body needs at this next stage of your life. And I think putting in the building blocks now, checking what you're eating, doing more of the exercise that what I found fascinating with your plan is, it's all about strength, and it's all about your core and your hips and making your shoulders and your arms and your legs strong for the next stage of your life. And I hope we're all going to live for another 40, 50 years. And if we're going to live that long, we need to live it as best as we can. We want to live it as healthily as we can. So by putting in the work now, I think we'll pay dividends in the next, 20, 30, 40 years.
Absolutely. I mean, you take the words right out of my mouth when you say that. It's almost like our future self will thank us for the work we put in now, supporting the skeletal system and the cardiovascular system, having a leaner body or a slimmer body, because we have slightly more muscle density. And I think, sometimes that can scare women off, and it just means having a toned body underneath is going to give you longevity in the future. So, any other top tips today, or do you think you've rounded that up nicely? I thought it was a great summary.
I think just be kind to yourself. Yeah. Do not beat yourself up. Look, I got to the stage where I have put on 2 stone over about 3 or 4 year period, and it just creeps up on you. Because, I said to my husband, if I gorged myself on chocolate every night, if I drank 3 litres of Coke a day or a bottle of wine every night, I would understand why I'd put on so much weight. I had done nothing different. I was eating bread, I was eating pasta, but I wasn't eating, I wasn't really going over my calorie intake every day. But it creeps up and your body changes. That's what I've learned. Your body changes. And my plea to anybody listening is, just don't beat yourself up. It is part of nature. And we know how delightful Mother Nature can be to us women. And you can respond to it. You can do things that will make you prepare for later life and to, deal with the menopause. You are not going to have the body that you had in your 20s and 30s, but you can have the body that is right for you in your 50s, 60s and 70s and beyond. Be kind to yourself, get the help and the advice that you need and deserve, and just enjoy life. Enjoy your menopause. I think we all can, in the main, have a good menopause, but we need to do it properly. We need help and support, like with yourself, Liv, and others, and we need to ensure that our GPs and the medical sector does understand what we women need as we grow older.
Yeah, I think that's very well summarised. And interesting you should pick up that point about the medical profession, because I think doctors are becoming more open-minded about it, and it's just a question of time before it filters down, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that as more information comes out, as more women like ourselves who want to carry on working, do have children, I've still got teenagers at home, I've got elderly parents as well. We are that sandwich generation where we need to keep all these balls up in the air. We will not take no for an answer. I don't think our generation rightly is going to suffer in silence, and we shouldn't suffer in silence. We deserve the best advice. We deserve the best medical advice and medication that we need if we need it, and we need the support and help and advice that we all deserve to get through the menopause. And I think because we are starting to shout now, saying enough, we need help, I think the medical profession is beginning to listen in greater numbers. And I do think, as part of the government's women's health consultation, that is part of it.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I'm glad you highlighted that. And I'm sure many people listening today will click on the government website and certainly want to have their say. So everybody out there, thank you so much for joining us today. And do remember to get in touch. And like I said, go to the website, have your say. And together, let's really help break that taboo around menopause. This is Livia Francis, founder of Fitfreedom, the Menopause Lifestyle Solutions, speaking today with Nickie Aiken MP in our quest to bring menopause to the forefront of our minds and create change.